Since 2017, Cancer Prevention and Screening Innovations, formerly ACPLF, has been working to bring the Indigenous Alberta Healthy Communities approach to Métis Settlements. In Phase 1, we partnered with the Tri-Settlements, East Prairie, Peavine, and Gift Lake. In Phase 2, we were honored to work with the 5 remaining settlements, Kikino, Palo Prairie, Fishing Lake, Buffalo Lake, and Elizabeth. This is the story of the work that we accomplished together. Our story begins in Phase 2, through the lens of the medicine wheel and the 4 aspects of self.
You have 4 aspects. They're just aspects of self. Your spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical. Okay, they're not components, they're not quadrants, they're aspects. You cannot subdivide them or anything like that. They live within you. Those 4 aspects of self, your spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical, they have to be in balance.
We begin in the spiritual aspect. Wellness from a spiritual perspective.
Tansisi masterhoyen, kispin kmi masterhoen, okse miasen. So in Cree, what I said was that wellness is how you're feeling. You know, are you feeling happy, healthy? Are you feeling good? You feel a lot of energy? You know, then you're well.
There's so many parts that it encompasses. It like when you look on the wheel as well, like it helps your mental, you know, your mental ability, your physical, your emotional, your spiritual as well. When you're walking, it can be a very spiritual thing. You know, you're in connection with your creator and with nature.
You know, this modernity where once we were led to believe to go and buy a loaf of bread in a store was a lot better than baking at home. Well, it was more convenient, much faster. But even if you look at the contents of a loaf of bread in the store, salt and sugar. People just don't realize that. Yeah, but I think more and more are doing that. So that's why I really feel that people's wellness will start to improve, you know, relative to their diet.
I guess wellness to me is, you know, it could be many things, right? You know, be aware of what's been presented to you. You know, look after yourself. In the old days, those are the things our grandfathers had taught us, right? Our grandmothers. You know, be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Be kind to nature. Be aware of what's around you, what's available to you. You know, the Creator didn't put this world together with nothing on it. And everything around that the Creator gave us is here. We just have to look for it or recognize it.
Wellness is, you know, feeling good on the inside, the outside, physical, emotional, your mental health. All of that's huge and very important to, you know, having a good quality of life and sharing that life with others and wanting them to take care of their own wellness as well as their families.
Going back the old ways, we could probably never go back all the way, but we can go back as far as we can, right? That's living off the land. Go back to your traditional way of eating. Stay healthy, you know, stay active. You know, move that body, get that body moving, exercise. You know, prepare yourself for the winter. Gather your food, gather your water, gather your wood. You're active that way. Eat properly. You know, do the best you can to eat a healthy food.
Wellness is what we were. Wellness was us before colonization. wellness, yeah, we had problems along the way, as any culture would, any people would. But wellness is where we started before we became colonized, right? And so for me, the framework in my mind is, let's get back to wellness.
Well, first of all, put yourself in a position where you don't get cancer. That's what we all want to do. You prevent it before you get it. That's with cancer, with diabetes, with anything. High blood pressure, etc., etc. But a lot of people are just not aware of these illnesses or these diseases.
Wellness doesn't include cancer, diabetes, any of those other chronic illnesses. Yeah, we had people who were sick before colonization, but we had our medicines, we had our way of healing each other, and we can still do that. But again, when you think about our young people, they need to learn that from our knowledge holders, from our old people, right? That's all still there. It's just not always accessible. And when you think about the colonization, the genocide that our people went through, it's not a wonder that they don't have all those pieces right now. But wellness is about us getting back to who we were.
The physical aspect, an example of the healthy work that communities do to enhance wellness.
Alberta Health Services approached our community, and as part of Indigenous health as well, and it was to have our people become more aware of cancer, the different types of cancer, but it was about prevention.
At first, our community was kind of like, okay, what are you guys doing? Like, what is this about? Like, they're kind of weary, like, because it's new to our community, right? And we're a very close community, like a small community. So we had to, like, give information and talk to them and say, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what this project is. And this is what we want to do. And they're very welcoming. They're like, our events were all well attended and the information was well received. Like, this project has been amazing for this community. Like, it's just opened a bunch of doors and knowledge and learning.
The project to bring out awareness in screening and to teach them what cancer prevention is all about, what kinds of cancers there are, when they should be getting screened, how to go about getting screened, where they can find the help that they need.
I had some understanding of the connection between the UV protection and skin cancer, not anything in depth, but we did get some education going through the program and going to all the activities and all that good stuff. So it really encouraged us to step up our game, I guess you could say.
Cancer is very prevalent, various forms of cancer in all communities. And it's one of those things that a lot of people want to talk about. But there's also a lot of misinformation, and there's a lot of things that people don't know.
Well, at first everyone's like, well, what is it? They're like, we all know what cancer is. And I'm like, but do we really know? Like, do we really understand what it really is? Like, cancer isn't just cancer. There's different forms of it. There's different stages of it. And there's ways to prevent it. And then once we started offering the resources and information, they're kind of like, hey, this is neat. Like, we didn't know this.
The biggest thing is it's community-led, and they, as a community, decide how it's going to change. You bring community members together to talk about what has worked in the community previously, what does work, what doesn't work. You do the readiness surveys, the community supportive surveys, and they look at them and see the results, and they're like, oh, the community wants you to focus on alcohol or UV.
We were able to approached the community, which was very interesting because we actually asked the community what the community wanted out of this program.
In the beginning, it was very little education. People were wondering what was happening. But as we kept going on, we started bringing things. The girls did an awesome job putting activities together, and people started looking at things. We started talking about different ways of eating, different exercises they do. They went out and they made a nature walk and stuff like that to get people out.
When we first got it rolling, that was a big part, is to have meetings with the community, a wide variety of the community, from our youth to our adults to our elders, everybody, and ask them what their thoughts about thoughts on cancer were about, what their top interests would be.
We have Walking Wednesdays here for our seniors during the wintertime so they can stay warm in the hall. It's indoors. We have our gym. We all try to encourage each other to stay active during the winter, do things together. In the summertime, our elders, women especially, are amazing with teaching our youth how to can and all of our produce and stuff like that. So for the most part, when it comes to wellness in the community, I think we all work really well as a team to teach our younger generation.
They did also healthy cooking. So now a lot of members in the community are learning how to do that, how to cook healthy foods.
And then of course the healthy eating and stuff, and that, trying to get people to eat more healthier, natural stuff and that. And that's where we're going with the sustainability of the program, is we're going into the gardening and stuff and vegetables, having people grow their own food. And we did trees, fruit trees and stuff like that. So people are going to have their own fruit trees to grow and stuff and that. So that's what we're looking at in those areas.
From the program, we gave our little gym that our community can access. We actually bought a treadmill for the gym. And then what they also did is they plotted out a walking path, which starts at the right at town site, and then it goes down towards the lake, towards the Frog Lake, and back up again.
It was always kind of integrated into my life, we eat a lot of moose. My sister more so than myself. She has more time apparently, or she's a better hunter, one of the two. But other than that, berries every year. That's always been a big part of my life personally. I'm actually growing pretty much what I'm telling people. I'm gonna try to grow an orchard up on my land, just for anyone to come pick if they want apples or cherries or whatever I can possibly grow. What we eat is how it's affecting our health. Has a lot to do, in my opinion, with all these cancers we're getting.
For our community, our main priorities were physical activity, cancer screening, and healthy eating. So our main focus was healthy eating because we are an hour away from the local grocery store, price of food and stuff. So healthy eating was a big portion of it. I actually ran a program the last 2 years doing a collective kitchen program. So we based it on healthy living, and we actually did all the grocery shopping for 25 families every month. We had new healthy recipes. We got people to try things that they never would have thought or even would have wanted to buy, and how to prepare them and keep that motivation going for people to change their diets.
Yeah, my mom always had a massive garden and stuff and things like that. So there always was gardens around and stuff, and then people got away from it. So trying to convince them, when I told them I was going to be doing gardening, I had 51 families contact me.
Every year we used to go fishing, put a net in Lac La Biche, and net about 100 and some fish, and come back and fill it and clean, and go around and give 2/3 of it away, to the needy people, to the older people that could no longer fish.
I'd love to go back to our roots, because we are losing our culture. A lot of our kids don't know our culture. Even me as an adult, there's a lot of things I'd love to go back and learn. And when you do your own gardens, you do your own hunting, you do your own chickens, you do a lot of fishing. That's culture.
In any community, you'll have barriers that you have to cross, but it seems like if you have an incentive like that benefits them, like we had offered gardening kits, like sunshades and stuff, they're more enticed to continue, and then you're giving them that tool that they need, like the sunshade, whether it's the seeds for gardening.
Yeah, just trying to get the message out there on healthy eating and the importance of physical activity. So every Wednesday, people would come in, sign in, do the walk. That way we kept track of who came, and then we drew a name at the end of the night to see who won the $50. So that worked.
And a lot of different other little gift cards and that were given out. So it was a good motivation for people, but at the same time they learned. And it was always full. Every time she held that, there was a list of people. If someone backed out, they'd be next. You know, there's a waiting list. So very, very successful.
So people were losing weight, all happy, getting started. And at the end of the event, there was a big dinner, and we drew one name out of all the people that came out every Wednesday combined, threw them in the draw, and we gave away a treadmill.
So just trying to get people out, so that was where most of the challenge lied, was to get the community out to support or to learn. So my lead and I would brainstorm and think about things that worked previously. Typically what works well in the community is to have a meal, give them some incentive to come out, maybe some door prizes.
I think the program was very well received, and I think what made it successful was also that we teamed up with other programs.
That had to have been my favorite part of this project, was gathering with all the settlements and hearing their ideas and being like, wow. And then integrating them into our community, because there are only 8 Métis settlements in the world. We are unique communities, and just being able to work with them and gain that knowledge is a benefit to me, myself, and my community.
I've noticed a lot of people reaching out to us to when they should be getting screened, where they can go get screened, and just overall like asking about cancer screening.
We're hitting like every age group, which is amazing, like different sectors of work. Like it's just been a great learning opportunity, like for everybody all around. And even with the healthy eating, like teaching them how to like smoke meat and the rabbits and the canning and stuff, it's just getting back to our roots, and more people are doing it. Like with the gardening, we're going to be doing gardening and offering gardening classes. It's just making a healthier way of eating, living in our community, which was much needed.
The mental aspect, an example of how we built this work together to increase wellness.
The impetus for this project came out of a broader ACPLF project that is based on the Alberta Healthy Communities approach. When I was asked to develop something that would involve Indigenous people, I quickly realized that that approach was going to have to be adapted quite remarkably.
The project is around cancer, and cancer is a really difficult topic for any culture. And then when you're in Indigenous communities, like talking about cancer is, a little more difficult.
Like, I've never believed that I empower anybody. I don't agree with that language. But one of the things that I do agree with is that I'm willing to put things in place for people to help them empower themselves, and I think that's what this opportunity, this way of doing things is providing. And the outcome of that is wellness.
As Indigenous people, all of our work is grounded in our relationships and the bridging of relationships. And we were already doing work with other Indigenous groups. So I went to some of my colleagues who I knew were from Métis settlement communities, had strong relationships there. And it took us at 1 year at least to go several times and meet with those communities, propose this project. And in fact, it was 1 week to the deadline that we had to have an answer, and we wanted to work with the Métis settlements. There was 3 of them, and it was less than a week before the deadline that they all signed on. That was phase 1. In phase 2, we realized that we needed to revise the tools that we had. We now had a proof of concept for this approach and this model, and we wanted to do implementation testing to gain the evidence that we would need to have our model and approach taken into operations. It's really important in building trust with Indigenous people that you go out and you meet them face to face. They want to see who you are as a person. They want to see how you react. They want to be able to be responsive to what it is that you're saying. That is very difficult to do in any other way except for meeting in person. You want to follow cultural practices like sharing meals, doing gifting, finding out what the practices and protocols of that community or that nation are.
That's one of the things that I heard a lot, is that we need to come together as community again. Things that used to happen, things that used to be important, and ways of creating that connection.
Communities have their solutions. They know what they need to do. They don't need us to tell them what it is that they need to do. They usually have their own strategies in place. It's about providing the right information and the right resourcing to help them do this work.
Using really interesting ways, like one community had a horse whisperer come and talk with the youth, and tied in tobacco use, and just like a lot of times they're talking about like honoring yourself and honoring your body. And how can we do that if we're not healthy, we're not putting in good food, we're not being physically active?
You know, when we talk about healthy eating, we're talking about being able to live naturally with the land, right? And we know how to do that. We still have some folks that know how to do that. So it's about helping them and providing the funding, the opportunity for them to be able to utilize their skills.
There's one community that even looked at baby foods and talked about like how much salt is in there and sugar, and then showed them how to make your own baby food. And the collective kitchens introduced different vegetables and fruits that people may not have tried before, and had recipes, and the facilitators talked about like how would you use it. That's a big part of healthy eating, is affordability and access, and a lot of them focused on that. And so then it's you're kind of focusing on those areas, but also showing that by doing this you're reducing your risk of cancer and other chronic diseases.
By having a garden, by knowing how to plant the seeds and grow the garden and do, the canning and drying the meat and all of these things, these are about us sustaining ourselves. And really the approach is looking at how can we sustain this. When you go hunting, you're being physical. You set your traps, you walk for miles behind a moose. There's all these pieces that fit within the framework of these risk factors that are identified by the Western world, but they're all things that we used to do. It's all the folks on the ground. Let's honor the work that they did because they worked so hard. And seriously, amazing work. I mean, yes, we're coming from a research perspective, but it's also the work that the people are doing on the ground through all kinds of adversity, right? We're talking about floods and fires and COVID and all the things that would knock a lot of people down, just make our people stronger. And as a Métis person, I feel very happy and honored to be able to work alongside our people and recognize and honor their way of being so that they can really share who they are by the work that they do.
I guess we have good leaders. The people that organize it know they done their homework before they threw it out at us. They didn't just throw it at us and say, you're on your own. They, step by step, and that was a good thing. They were very helpful. And, you know, I've been into a lot of committees and that, and this is the one that it touched the heart because the program is about the heart. And they were right there. They didn't leave you, give you a bunch of information and then just say you're on your own. That's not the way I seen it. I was very happy to be at a meeting because I know I learned something about cancer, how, you know, where we could go, what we could do. So I'm very happy of all the times that I've attended a meeting because there was always something new that I should know.
The emotional aspect. An example of how cancer and chronic disease impacts all of us.
When I first heard of the cancer program, I was very interested because it's very personal to me because I lost a sister who was 1 year older than me to breast cancer. She fought it for 15 years. Maybe 3 months later, I lost my mother to liver cancer. I lost numerous aunties and uncles on my mom's side to cancer and also on my dad's side. So it's real personal to me.
I think Paddle Prairie has certainly had their share of loss in the community, and I think that having the cancer prevention program there was beneficial to people who have personal experience with loss due to cancer, right? I lost my youngest brother to cancer when he was 17, and that was over 30 years ago.
Over the last few years, like probably the last 15 years, I've been noticing a lot of members have cancer.
We've all been touched by it, you know, like mothers, fathers, sisters, daughters, all kinds of family members who've died or been impacted by cancer.
Cancer's been around for so long, and it's such a unknown that any bit of information and education, it helps. And like being involved, it's not just a concentration that should be on the women's programs, but men's programs as well.
You know, I lost my stepfather to stomach cancer. My wife, when I met her, the first couple of years we were going out, she had cervical cancer. And then it went into remission now, gladly, for the last 30-some years, and it hasn't came back. But I noticed that a lot of members do have cancer, a lot of family members that passed away from cancer. Like a lot of our family members have passed away from cancer. There's quite a few of them.
But my sister and I were very close. And to have her pass away in your arms is very emotional. So with this program that we have here now, at least there's people have chances with early detection, where a lot of people will just let it go, because they'd have to travel to Lac La Biche or Edmonton or wherever. But now that they had the screening test in here, it's very important, because if you could catch cancer at a very early stage, your chances of surviving is a lot better.
When we started with the program and stuff, I actually sat down with a couple of my cousins and we tried to figure it out. We said, how bad has cancer affected our community? And we were able to sit down in one sitting and figure out 81 people in our community that we knew that passed from cancer. So in a small community, that's a lot of people. It was over like a longer stretch of time period, but still, you know, for a small community, that's a lot of people from cancer, the same type of cancer like lung cancer or, you know, liver, you know, different things and stuff and that. We even had a couple of people that had skin cancer and stuff and that I didn't realize. But yeah, so it really made it awareness of how cancer has affected our community. And you don't really think about it till you sit down and look at stuff like that and say, well, you know, these weren't natural deaths that these people died from. This was from cancer.
Well, the one they targeted on, like the skin one, it didn't dawn on me that, you know, that's probably one of the more easier ones to get. We're outside lots here, and I thought that was actually a good start to their program.
Well, I wish I would have known years ago not to smoke. But I mean, on the serious side, I wish we had screening, because a lot of our elders probably passed away from cancer not knowing that it was cancer, just blaming something else. But now with the screening and the way the system is today, you got early detection of everything. And the earlier you get it, the better it is.
Cancer is newly rampant in our communities. I don't know, it had to have been there before, but I know lately there's been a lot of people who have cancer. And when before people would talk about cancer, and in our Cree languages, they would talk about it and they would call it a munchus, which is this little bug that lives inside you.
Well, they probably trust the program due to the fact that the facilitators are right from here. Either we're related somehow, but the main thing is they know the person lives here. And if they need to talk to them, they can talk to them. Where if our elders go to the clinic in Lac La Biche, I'm not too sure they're going to be wide open with they're going to hesitate. But by me, from being here, I could see that they enjoy this, and they could trust the people that work here. So that's why they come here.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared to be involved. This is huge. We have many, many people dying of cancer. And the sooner we get the information, the sooner to make changes in community, the more impactful it's going to be. We have our children and our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren to think about. We just need to make shifts in how we process food, how we take care of ourselves, and we need to be able to do that in a really systematic way.
That's the team. That's the Indigenous team on this project, and I quite proudly say that we're all Indigenous, and we understand each other. We're tightly connected. We walk through whatever kind of conflicts we have, if we have any. We're able to really communicate and really do the work well together, because we understand our own people. We understand if somebody's in a really tough place, we don't pressure them to do the things that we expect or the approach expects. It's about being kind, it's about being understanding, compassionate. You know, those are the things that really drive our work, because that's who we are.
We did it, like overcoming it. I looked at Pauline one day, I'm like, we did it. I was like, I can't believe how far we come. Like, looking back, I'm like, we did a lot here.
We were just gung-ho and all these ideas and stuff, and just raring to go and stuff and that, because, you know, it was a very important work for us.
It was really encouraging when the facilitators would say, well, people know we're here now, and people are coming in and asking us questions about cancer prevention and screening.
Because the more lives we save, the better. No matter if it's just our neighboring community, because why not? Everything should be shared, and that should be one of them, prevention.
We're very fortunate that our community access team wants to carry this on, and I don't know what that looks like right now, but they're prepared to, you know, hold little events in the community if we have access to funding and whatever we're going to do with it. But for any community that's interested in it, absolutely.
We've given the people the information, and we're going to continue giving them the resources for sustainability for the healthy eating. Like, I'll continue doing hunting in my community and feeding elders, teaching people to cut meat, like, for as long as I'm willing and able to do so.
We need to get our community a little bit healthier and stuff, and that we need to look at, you know, what we have here and stuff and how to sustain it. You know, like, I've got grandchildren and stuff, and I want my grandchildren growing up healthy.
We shouldn't have to lose any more loved ones to cancer. So the more we work to get, you know, a cure, or how we could prevent it, how we could save our young people, that's my way.
Everybody wins. You know, it creates some employment, but it also creates education, and educating your people about the different cancers, about prevention, more healthy eating, just, you know, the whole gamut of it. So yeah, it's a good program.
I feel like I could carry this knowledge for years, and like the knowledge of the, like, integrate it with our traditional eating and stuff, and just keep it going in the community. It's been an amazing learning process, like the learning about all the different types of cancer and ways you can prevent it.
And I'm happy that I had the opportunity to work with such an amazing group. You know, it's a learning experience for me, because at my age, I'm not too old to learn.
Alberta Health Services, Amy the star. All right.
Mom would say, don't you eat that food, that's for winter. You know, so that's how I grew up.
We are also, you know what, I'm going to tell him, you get out of here, go home, go. You know, can I just pick?
Just take that away.
I can? You know what, I'm just going to take him and put him in, because he's just going to be.
God, you're good. You're so good. Quit being so good, they're gonna think you're an actor. Okay, here we go.
Kill electronic equipment? You know, one of those people who do that?
Really?
Yeah, which is weird. I will.
You have some electromagnetic.
My dad did too.
Oh, I can take my glasses off if you'd like. I don't need them to see. Well, I do need them to see, but...
What are they called? No, the, you know, the things you grow vegetables in? Greenhouses.
We'll edit that out.
You know?
As soon as you did that, we actually saw one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I seen a sign that said smoke meat, not drugs. I'm like, that's right. It's like, that's neat.
And I'm glad and proud for them, as a counselor and also as a member. Pauline owes me a coffee.
Well, tell her you said some nice things. How about that?
There we go.